So you're trying to decide if you're going to give the NFL Super Bowl one more chance. I understand. It's a complex game with a lot of rules, and you don't know if you're ready to commit 3.5 hours to a game that encompasses around 11 minutes of gameplay and has an average of 100 commercial breaks. And be forewarned, for the Super Bowl, there are even more. I felt the same way when I decided to give the beautiful game a try in 2022. I didn't understand the hype around a game in which goals were infrequent, and it appeared that players kicked the ball with no purpose and made passes at random, but then I began to understand the game, and I fell in love with it. Maybe you will never see the American game the way we do, but hopefully, if you have some understanding about the sport, you will enjoy watching the Super Bowl this year. Let's get into the video. This is Hand Egg Explained.
Well, there are a lot of American Football Explained videos on YouTube. This one has almost 3 million views. And so I wanted to give my Luke's Sports Academy stamp of approval or disapproval on this video, kind of give some commentary as I watch it, see what they get right and see what they don't get right. Let's get into it.
Nin explains the rules of American football. The object of the game is for your team to score more points than the opposing team.
Right.
Teams are made up of 46 players in the NFL.
Well, so see, this is an inaccuracy. I'm not sure if this used to be the case, but teams in the NFL are made up of 53 players. You have a 53-man roster, and only 11 players actually see the field during any possession of play. There will be 22 players on the field. It's the same as in football. There are 22 players on the field, but the difference between football and American football is we have two different specialty groups. We have a defense and an offense. So technically, for both teams, there will be 22 players who will see the field. Likely more because we don't have limits on how many substitutions we can make. So a lot of times, guys will be subbing in and out. But 22 players in theory, hypothetically, would be taking the field. Because we have two different teams. We have an offense and a defense.
11 players taking to the field at any one time. The field is 100 yards long by 53 yards wide, with two 10-yard end zones at each end. White markings on the field help players, referees and spectators keep a track of what's going on. The game starts with a kickoff. The team with possession of the ball is known as the...
Right, and so the team that kicks off the ball will kick off from the 35-yard line. Now, something that he's probably going to bring up here, if that ball that's kicked off from the 35-yard line, if it travels the length of the field and goes out the back of the end zone or the goal, the end zone, the goal, if it goes out the back or lands in there, hits the ground, it's what we call a touchback, meaning that the receiving team will get the ball placed at the 25-yard line. Now, this video being 8 years ago is going to have some of the rules different. It used to be that they would get the ball at the 20. Now they get it at the 25. That's the difference.
The offense, and the team without the ball is the defense. The job of the offense is to move the ball up the field and try and score points. This can be done by either running forwards with the ball or by throwing it up the field for a teammate to catch. The offense is given 4 chances or 4 downs to make it.
Exactly. So you can throw it forward. You can actually even throw it backward if you want to set up like a trick play, but for the most part, you're throwing the ball forward or you're handing the ball off to a running back or one of the other players to run the ball. You get 4 downs to get 10 yards. So if you think about it this way, there is the goal of the offense. Think of it almost like you're in the military and you've got a mission, right? The offense's goal is to get the ball to cross that line, that goal line, and as soon as the ball crosses, it doesn't have to be the whole body, as soon as the ball crosses that line, your offense has achieved its goal. Now, in the broader mission, which is to get the ball across the goal, we have little missions, okay? And the smaller mission is to make it for 10 yards. Every time that you gain 10 yards, you get a fresh set of downs, okay? You have 4 chances to get 10 yards. If you cannot earn 10 yards in 4 tries, then the ball is given to the other team wherever on the field you're at. So you're turning the ball over, and then the opposing team gets to send their offense out on to the field. So there's a bigger game, and the big mission is let's get the ball across that goal line. But then there's a smaller game inside the bigger game, and that small game is how can we get this ball 10 yards so we can get another set of downs. And so you're basically marching the ball up and down the field. These will be, for football fans, this is like a series of set pieces. So you get basically 4 set pieces to gain 10 yards. A lot of teams will gain 15, 20, 30 yards on one play. And sometimes, if you've got a good defense, teams really, really have to fight for those 10 yards. So let's watch and see what he says.
At least 10 yards. If the offense manages to move the ball 10 yards or more, they will retain possession of the ball, whilst given another 4 downs to make another 10 yards.
So what they just showed here, man, he's showing a lot of footage in this video, but he's not explaining what's happening. What just happened in that footage is you'll see, I'm going to back up like 3 seconds. You'll see in this footage, watch number 77. He jumps forward before that ball moves. That's what we call a false start. You don't get to go early. Everyone has to move when the ball moves. As soon as the ball moves, you can go. But if you move early, that's what's called a false start. That's a 5-yard penalty. That will back them up from 1st and 10, first down and 10 yards to go. It will now be 1st down and 15.
See this graphic. This tells you what down the team is on, and this tells you how many yards they need to make. If you're also watching this on TV, they will also show you the lines they need to cross in order to make their downs.
Right, the yellow line, yeah.
The defense's job is to stop the offense moving the ball forwards by tackling. This includes pulling them to the ground, stopping them from moving forward, or forcing them off the field. If the offense fails to move the ball 10 yards within 4 downs, the ball is given to the defending team at that point. The defending team will then bring on their offensive players and try and move the ball in the opposite direction so that they can score. You will most likely see the offense kick the ball away on 4th down to make it more difficult for the other team to score. Teams will usually have 3...
Right, so this is what we call a field position battle. If your team is struggling to make that 1st down, let's say you've got a 4th down and 7 yards to go to earn another set of downs. 4th down and 7 is a difficult play. It's very risky. So instead of trying to get that 1st down, trying to gain another 1st down, teams will opt to kick the ball as far as they can and try to pin the defending team back deep on the other side of the field so that they don't turn the ball over in a disadvantageous position. So you're trying to flip the field and get the other team to start way behind. And so that's what's called a field position battle. And you'll see that a lot. Some teams punt a lot more than other teams if they don't have a good offense. So
units of 11 players that come on the field at different times. They include the offense. These players will usually come on the field when they have possession of the ball. The offensive unit consists of these positions.
All right, so he's getting into a little bit more advanced stuff. So what you're going to see here at the top of this screen is you see an offensive line. Okay, this is the position that guys with my frame, big beefy guys they're extremely athletic, extremely strong. These are the guys who are going to try to protect the skill positions here in the backfield. Okay, this offensive line is built of guys who are mean and nasty and who have to be they're the key to the game. If you've got a bad offensive line, you've got players who can't play tough in the trenches, that quarterback is going to be running for his life all game long, and it's going to disrupt your offensive plays because these guys have to play on their heels, so they have to be quick because the players that are running straight forward, it's harder to run backwards than it is to run forwards. And you've got defensive players who are angry and they want to get the quarterback and they're running really fast. And you have got to be quick enough to make sure that they don't get back there and strong enough to make sure that you can protect the players in the backfield. Okay, the quarterback, he is the player who basically facilitates the offense. Okay? Think of him almost as a midfielder in football. things run through him. Now, I'm not going to say that there's an exact correlation in football of a position to the quarterback. The quarterback is the most important player on the team because he's the one who has the job of reading the defense, making sure everyone knows where they're supposed to go, making sure he can see how the defense is lined up, see what kind of coverages they might run, and then he has about 3 seconds on average to get the ball out of his hand and into the hand of an open receiver without turning the ball over, while also reading the defense, while also having to navigate and see, are they about to sack me? Are they about to tackle me? So he's got to process all. You got to have a brain. He's got to process things really quickly and get the ball out of his hands as fast as possible. Your wide receivers are your really, really fast players. These are guys who are very skilled and athletic and able to go up and catch the ball. Your running back he's going to run the ball between the guard and tackles basically most of the time, and those guys have to open up holes and runways for him to get through. I'm explaining a lot of technical jargon during this little portion, so let's see if I can let this video continue explaining things.
The quarterback is the most important player on the field, as he's the one who decides to pass the ball up the field, hand it off to a teammate so that they can run with it, or decide to run with it himself. These offensive line positions are usually responsible for protecting the quarterback. The wide receivers are responsible for running down the field to catch the ball thrown by the quarterback. The tight end is responsible for blocking and also catching the ball in the middle of the field. And the running back and fullback is responsible for running with the ball up the field. The defense. These plays will usually come on the field when the other team has the ball. The defensive unit consists...
Man, see, some of this is so difficult to really say yes or no on because teams have so many different formations, right? Most NFL teams actually don't use a fullback. Most NFL teams, they want to put extra receivers on the field, or they might put 2 running backs. They don't necessarily align with what this video is showing. And defensively, I mean, you can have all kinds of variations. You can have nickel corners. You can have just those outside corners, 3 linebackers, 2 safeties. Looks like he's showing here. He's showing a 4-3 defense. The four players at the top of the screen, that's your defensive line. Most teams will run a 4-man defensive line. And the idea and concept is those 4 players need to get pressure on the opposing quarterback. They need to be chasing him down. And these other players are playing in zones, or maybe they're man marking a receiver. But they're basically trying to make things very hectic for the offense.
Of these positions. The defensive line is responsible for moving past the offensive line. The linebackers stop running backs coming through the defensive line, and they're also responsible for attacking the quarterback. The cornerbacks try and stop the wide receivers, and the safeties try and stop the pass up the middle of the field. Special teams. Special teams are specialist players that come on the field when there's a kick involved. Within the special teams is a mixture of offensive and defensive players, mixed with either a punter or kicker for offense, or a punt returner for defense. Now you know what all the players do and how the game is played. But how do you score? In American football, there's 4 different ways of scoring. Number 1, a touchdown. The main way of scoring is via a touchdown. If the ball is carried into the end zone area, or thrown and caught in the end zone, this is a touchdown and is worth 6 points. Unlike in rugby, you don't need to touch the ball down onto the ground.
As long as the ball crosses that white line, it's a touchdown. You don't have to touch the ball to the ground. Just that ball has to get across the goal line.
Cross the line with the nose of the ball to score. Number 2, extra points. Once a touchdown has been scored, you have the option of kicking it through the uprights for an extra point, or try and pass or run the ball into the end zone for an extra 2 points.
Teams very, very rarely try the 2-point conversion because it's harder to get those 2 points, and if you miss out on 2 points, sometimes games can be decided by 1 or 2 points. So like you don't want to you want to take the more the less risky choice and just take that 1 point, because most teams are automatic. Very, very rarely, it does happen, very rarely does a team miss that extra point kick. It's just a really easy kick. And so most teams will just kick and take 7 points on the touchdown instead of 8.
points. Most teams play it safe and go with the 1 point.
Exactly.
Number 3. Field goal. At any time, the team with the ball can kick the ball between the posts and over the crossbar. To do this, they must hand it to a teammate who will hold it down to the ground, ready for the kicker to make a kick. A successful kick scores 3 points.
3 points.
Number 4. A safety. If the defense tackles an offensive player behind
Safety's very rare, so if you're having trouble keeping up with all of the different things in the game, you can just wipe this one from your memory, because this almost never happens. However, let's say it does happen. If you get tackled in your own end zone, so you've got 100 yards to go, and you get backed up so you're on your 1 yard line, and you get tackled behind that line, well, you got to be penalized for that, because right, the goal is to get the ball into your opponent's end zone. So if they tackle you in your own end zone, then you give 2 points to the opposing team, and then you have to also lose possession. So the tackling team gains 2 points and possession of the ball. You forfeit possession. So
goal line, the defending team scores 2 points. The game is played in 4 15-minute quarters for a combined playing time of 60 minutes. High score at the end of 60 minutes wins. Ties are rare in American football, and overtime periods are played if necessary to determine the winner. Different leagues have different rules about tie games. Is that it? Is that all I need to know?
If in the NFL you ever have a tie, it's very rare. Some seasons go by and there's not a single draw in the entire season. Sometimes it happens. But that's because you've played the entirety of overtime and still can't determine a winner. It almost never happens.
Well, you're almost there, but American football is filled with lots of rules, and you'll need to understand a few more of them before playing or watching a game. For example, fumble. If a ball carrier drops the ball, that's a fumble. Any player on the field can recover the ball by diving onto it. The team that recovers a fumble gets possession of the ball. Interception.
You get it right where you...
An aggressive defense can regain possession of the ball by catching or intercepting passes that are meant for players on the other team. Both fumble recoveries and interceptions.
So this is something that's interesting, and it might be a little difficult to explain, no, it's not going to be difficult to explain. I've heard it said a lot that it's hard to understand having 2 specialty units. So like you have a defensive unit and an offensive unit. Well, the defensive unit turns into an offensive unit at any point they recover a fumble or they get an interception. If they intercept a pass, you start running the other direction. You become an offensive player at that point when the turnover happens. So if you take the ball away from the other team, you start running the opposite direction, and then the offensive unit now becomes a defense. But its turnovers are not frequent. So for the most part, teams, if a team turns the ball over 4 times in a game, that was a really bad game for that team, for that offense. If an offense gives the ball away 4 times, that team generally loses the game, because you don't often turn the ball over 4 times, giving possession to the opposing offense and win that game. It's very rare. It does happen, but it's very rare for a team to overcome 4 turnovers in a game.
Can be run back into the end zone for touchdowns.
Right.
Sack. If the defense tackles a quarterback whilst he has possession of the ball, this is known as a sack. This is detrimental to the offense as a down is wasted, and this usually results in a loss of yards.
Right.
Incomplete pass. If a pass intended to a receiver hits the ground first or is thrown out of bounds, this is ruled an incomplete pass. A down is wasted and play restarts from the spot of the last down. Penalty. If a player breaks one of the rules, referees will throw flags onto the field. They will determine who made the foul and how many yards his team should be penalised. Challenge. If a coach disagrees with the decision on the field, they can throw red flags onto the field. The previous play will then be reviewed, and if the challenge is successful, the ruling on the field is reversed. If the challenge is unsuccessful and the ruling on the field stands, they forfeit 1 timeout.
So, he just explained it, but yeah, a coach can challenge a call. If he thinks that the referee made a bad decision, you can throw the red flag and they'll go do kind of like a VAR situation. They'll view the replay. if the coach was correct and the referees overturned their decision, good job. If the coach is incorrect and the referees uphold their decision, you lose a timeout, and so that can be important, because timeouts become really important at the end of the game when you're trying to stop the clock if you're trying to win the game.
Timeouts. If a team wants to stop the clock to regroup, take a break, or discuss strategy, they are allowed 3 timeouts per half. Each timeout lasts 60 seconds, and players get a break of 12 minutes at half time. Now, this is a lot to take in, but once you start playing or watching American football, the rules will become clear. If you found this video at all helpful, please like.
Exactly, and that's the point. Here's what I plan on doing. For those of you who have stuck through to the end of this video, maybe you really do want to try to understand American football, I plan on doing a live stream of this Super Bowl with my channel subscribers. I will post the link in the community page. If you want to come watch some hand egg with me and you want to try to, I can explain things as they happen, kind of give some commentary on the game and sort of explain what you're watching as you watch it. If you want that help, please join us during the Super Bowl. I'll have a great time explaining the game to you. This video was a pretty good explanation of American football. There's a lot of moving parts to the game, and you can't possibly put everything into the video. Pretty good explanation of the game. It's a little dated, though, because some of the rules have changed over time. If you like what you saw in this video, please go ahead and smash the like button for me, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one.